Well, hello there. Welcome to Freethought Forum. This is October 5th, and Freethought Forum is a program by the Atheist Society of Knoxville and the Rationalists of East Tennessee. I'm Faithless Forrest.
And I'm Larry Rhodes, and we wanted to let you know that if you don't believe in God, you're not alone.
Today we want to speak to you about our Constitution and its protection of religious freedom, the so-called separation between church and state. But first, we do have a few announcements of upcoming events.
The Atheist Society of Knoxville has a happy hour every week at different places. Tonight's not a regularly scheduled one, but we will be going down to Barley's Tap Room after the show for dinner, drinks, whatever. But tomorrow is the regular time, Wednesday night, and we're going to be meeting at Carrabba's out west. I hope to see you there.
All right. The Rationalists of East Tennessee has a book club coming up this October 10th. That's this next Sunday, 4 p.m. at Barnes & Noble. This month's book is Dangerously Funny, the uncensored story of the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour. You need not have read the book to attend the book club meeting. You'll get a lot out of it, and you may discover you don't even need to read the book.
There's a round table at the Rationalists of East Tennessee. Constitutional law professor Otis H. Stevens, a local legend at UT, will lead a discussion of major cases from the Supreme Court in his 2009 to 2010 term and offer some of the thoughts about the upcoming term with recently confirmed Justice Kagan. Visit our websites for times and locations. They should be there. Kind of hard to see them.
Well, that's great. Today's program is going to be about separation of church and state. And it's not just Thomas Jefferson's good idea, it's the law. So, listeners, please call in at 215-2288 and help us discuss Thomas Jefferson, what he called the expression of the supreme will of the nation on behalf of the rights of conscience. All right. I guess let's set the stage. In the 1780s, the founders were very aware of the terrible things done when church and state were not separate, because many of the people who came to America came to escape government entanglement with religion. When it was time to write a Bill of Rights for incorporation into the nation's supreme law, disestablishing religion headed the list. So what happened, prior to that? Well, in Europe, you can see from the background behind us, we had the Spanish Inquisition. Can we think of some other things that were happening that we want to mention?
Most of the things the Founding Fathers were trying to get away from was the king-church combination. The king gets its power derived from the church. A bishop or archbishop or the leading religious figure of that particular society is the one that crowns the king and gives him his power directly from God. So when you start combining the power of the government to control your actions and your body and imprison you and levy fines against you with the power of the church, which also has power over your beliefs, your thinking, it almost leads to total slavery. And the founders of American government were very conscious of this. They had firsthand knowledge of it from England.
And I like how they phrase it. They wanted freedom of conscience, so that people had the right to think and express their true opinions about things. Well, in October of 1801, the Danbury Baptist Association wrote a letter to President Thomas Jefferson. It expressed their concern for their religious freedom. And I'll read a few excerpts of this. Our sentiments are uniformly on the side of religious liberty. And they kind of sum up by saying that what religious privileges we enjoy as a minority of the state, we enjoy as a favor granted and not as an inalienable right. And I know I've had theists say that, well, we should be, glad we live in a nation where we're allowed to express our atheist view, as if that was something that
they
granted to us. Yes. And they further say that these favors we receive at the expense of such degrading acknowledge as are inconsistent with the rights of free men. So the very issue that the Danbury Baptists were addressing is now the issue faced by people who want to be openly atheist here in American society.
the freedom from religion, freedom of religion, also protects churches themselves from the invasion into government of other churches. I used to have a bumper sticker that says, "Be very careful if you want church and religion combined." I mean, church and government combined, because the religion that gets in very well may not be your religion.
And they may legislate yours.
They'll legislate yours out of existence.
That's right.
And that's what happened at the beginning of the country. The churches themselves wanted this clause put in there, that they could practice their religion without having some other religion move into the powerful position of government.
Well, prior to our dissolving our ties with Great Britain, there was an established church. That's called the Anglican Church. Sorry, Anglican, am I getting that wrong?
No,
and here in the United States, then, after the Revolution, they renamed themselves because they couldn't very well claim allegiance to to England, where there was still a king who would then say, "Well, you're all my subjects," and so disestablishing church and state ties was a fundamental aspect of our nation's revolution. It wasn't just a revolution against a king and tyranny of the civil authority. It was also a revolution against a king and a church that would try to, at least in theory, had the right to impose its will upon everyone in the nation.
And just think of it this way, would you like the government, even if it went with some religion, to impose your beliefs on you, tell you what you must believe, which strict scripture you must adhere to, and then whatever they say with the voice of God, the power of God.
And the power of government.
And the power of government combined.
There we go.
It's a very dangerous combination, extremely dangerous.
Well, in January of 2008, Jefferson wrote a letter replying to the Danbury Baptist Association. It is in this letter he referred to, quote, "the act of the whole American people, which declare that their legislature shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, thus building a wall of separation between church and state." We'd really like those of you listening out there to call in and tell us what you think about the separation of church and state and Jeffersons Wall. Perhaps you can tell us how you've benefited from it.
What was some of the problems that the early Americans had when they tried to do this separation, or they actually tried to get some of their religious thought into government locally?
Well, the history books don't necessarily talk about some of the unhappy associations of religion in American life after the establishment of our nation, but in Philadelphia, I believe it's Philadelphia, in the 1840s, there were riots when Bibles were in classrooms and Catholics were being forced to use a Bible that is not the Bible they use in their church. And Protestants and Catholics rioted over this, and churches were burned, people were killed. Well, in May of that year, 1844, not only were people injured, 4 were killed, and in July, at least 15 to 20 people, including both rioters and soldiers, were killed, and at least 50 people injured.
Now, the thing about it is, you think these few people were killed over the Catholics and the Protestants having a difference of opinion on which Bible to use, but especially in the South where we are right now, a lot of people are saying, bring the Bible back to class, bring the Bible back to school. We ought to at least have it in there.
And so that raises the question of which one?
Bible? Now, most people would say, and most Southern Baptists where I came from, says, well, obviously the King James Version. But that would tear our nation apart, because the Catholics don't want that one, and the Mormons certainly don't want it. And if you're talking about all the other splinter religions, they would want to interpret it differently anyway, which brings us right back to the part where we would just rip the country apart, which is what religions are really good at doing.
Well, it strikes me as sort of a Christian similarity that what Islam has. Islam has two main branches. There is a Sunni branch and a Shia branch. And though they claim descendant from the same prophet, there's been this division, and we know that that division is one of the sources of the conflict and killing that happens in Iraq right now.
It's the interpretations that different people give to the words of the prophet. The prophet's words are there, but then they have these splinter groups over what the interpretation of how to read them is, and that's what's causing all the violence.
Yes, indeed. I believe there was also the root of that split involved a lack of instructions for how to choose a successor to Muhammad after his death, and there was a faction that went with, I'm going to say it was an uncle, and then there was a faction that went with a nephew of Muhammad, and this separation exists to this day. I guess within Christianity there is also the split with the Eastern Orthodox Church that's also very ancient.
Well, you have the Lutherans and the there's 10,000 different sects of Christianity in America today, and each one of them are willing to fight for their own truth.
It sure seems to me that the so-called inspired Word of God just can't have been written very clearly if there can be all of these interpretations.
Yeah.
Can there?
No, and an all-powerful God you would think would be able to write a book that would be self-updating, or at least indestructible. But this particular Bible was put together by people, by men mainly, in ancient Rome.
I think we have a call.
I think we do. He may still be getting information about the call.
All right. Well, we'll capture that, and we're eager to speak to you about Jefferson's Wall of Separation.
Now, you don't actually have to have a religion that would bring government to a state of dictatorship. It can be dogmatic mind control based on personality or politics, like Stalin and or Hitler or even Pol Pot.
And, of course, we've got that personality cult that's looking to change its leader in North Korea right now.
Kim Jong-il.
All right. Sounds like that caller's ready.
Hello, you're on Freethought Forum. This is Larry. May I have your name?
Yes, my name is Darla.
Hello, Darla.
Hello, Darla.
Hi, guys. This is the very first time that I have tuned into the program. I didn't know that it actually even existed.
It's a new program. We've only had like 6 episodes now.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, this is wonderful. I was listening to the talk, and one of you said to call in and talk about how you've benefited from separation of church and state.
Yes,
A lot of it has already been said. I am a former school teacher, and you can kind of guess at some of the things that I've been through with that. But I would have most of the people that I run into, and I feel like I'm in the belt buckle of East Tennessee, the
Bible belt.
Yeah, the belt buckle of the Bible belt.
We sympathize with that experience. Yes.
Well, most of my students, of course, and their parents were theists, and most of them, Christian. And I was listening to the news the other night how that Islam is the largest growing religion in the country.
It's the fastest
right now
in the world.
And did you say in the world? I'm sorry.
I believe it is the fastest growing religion in the world, but I believe that the free thought movement is even growing faster.
I was going to say that as well, but Darla, go on and finish your statement and question for us.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't mean to take up so much time. Well,
So you have benefited from the First Amendment and Jefferson's Wall.
I have most definitely.